Look at us.
Look at us. Happy Saturday, folks.
Happy
Look at us
Saturday.
getting together on a weekend.
I know.
On a weekend.
Committed to the cause. I love it. I love it. Y'all can see Mel's t-shirt. Once you see it, you can be it.
Mel, I got mine.
You got yours? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I just be shipping stuff and don't follow up. So I'm happy that it was delivered.
I say.
Yeah.
And Mel is so
I promise to check. I promise to check after the call.
She hasn't checked her.
Mel's so cute. She put a sticky note of the address inside the package.
Oh, your sticky note made it? Okay.
Yeah. Cutest thing ever.
We got t-shirts. Aren't we also selling t-shirts? Didn't you put the link out on social media? Yeah. You want to tell people where they can get that?
Yeah. So, as we continue on this journey and I continue to embark upon artistic endeavors in the sports space.
Yes.
Thank you. I feel like I'm going to make some very exclusive wearable art, as we go throughout this process and create some shirts that represent some different people and different moments throughout women's basketball history. I'm not trying to be a manufacturer of t-shirts. Like, that's not
drop a little change.
I'm just trying to be an artist.
You just had a little merch. You got a little merch.
It's a little side hobby. hobby. Yeah, little merch. Little merch. But yeah, you can get it from can'tretireproject.com/shop, or I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's the link.
What you mean?
No,
that's not the right link.
Put it in. Let's make sure that
let's drop it. Let's drop it down there somewhere, because you gonna get people the wrong link. Anyway, today, Jaz is up to bat. Okay, she's at the free throw line. All right, she's got the ball in her hands. What are we talking about today, Jaz?
So quick thing. I know, one of the things that we've been hitting on a little bit is, obviously, there's a new energy around the WNBA right now and women's basketball in general. Right. Big shout out Caitlin Clark and all that she's done for the game in regards to bringing new attention and new voices to it. Shout outs to all the rookies that are in the game right now, with the condolences to Miss Brink. But also just we're acknowledging that there's a lot of new faces with a lot of things to say. Right. And I think one of the things that is challenging in this space is the new face and the new voice seems to be coming in with a pretty strong opinion that not everybody tends to agree with. And it could be very misleading and potentially damaging to what this whole movement is. Right. Yep. But at the same time, I think it's important to say, and let's just be flat out about it, a lot of that is the male perspective that is now becoming very loud about the WNBA. Right. And very loud about women's sports in general. Over the last couple of years, it's been a broader women's sports, but as the WNBA specifically has taken off, women's basketball has been getting a lot more attention and a lot more microphones starting to lean in one direction. And so the big question I want to address today is, the reality is we cannot say, shut up and just watch. That's just as bad as the whole shut up and dribble moment. Right. Mm-hmm. That is, and we shouldn't genuinely be interested in that. I want to hear what everybody's got to say, because I do think that there's power in that broader audience. Right. However, I do think when you are a majority in regard to sports fans, we know that males dominate the sports fan. The gap is closing, but that they dominate the sports fan population, however we want to say that, when they are the dominant voice in sports and media and what have you, how do you come into a space that's really a minority space, a female-driven space, right? It is about female players and what they're doing on the court. Yep. What is their place in this conversation? Because you can't say, don't say nothing. But I do think it is such a conversation starter to talk about how do you enter the space? Right. We've seen it in a lot of different areas, but I just wanted to tease that out a little bit of what is men's space and voice and place in this WNBA and new women's sports conversation. What are your thoughts?
So
I'm gonna drop some fun. I'm gonna drop some fun stats on you, right? So
okay.
We love to see how good women's the viewership of the WNBA has populated, but there's not a lot of really solid male to female stats on it right now, because it's new and people weren't paying attention before. But
that part.
In comparison, we'll look over at the NBA just to look more at a general sports that has been successful, like a league that's been successful in regard to just economically, right? So viewership in the NBA is 59% male, 41% female. Not big surprise there. Honestly, like shout out to the females really coming in at the 41%, right? Like we're starting to really show up. It's showing that we're having a gender gap, right? However, one of the two interesting facts, engagement in regard to actively showing up, participating, being part of conversations, 31% of men in general in the US say that they are actively engaged fans of the NBA. Only 10% of women.
Ooh.
So big gap there. More on that, men spend 20% more in the industry than women do. So again, as we go back to this WNBA conversation and as it continues to grow and expand, that's a lot of money. We're talking about a $60 billion industry, and men are spending 20% more than women. So you can't just say, we just going to go with what the women is doing and deal with it. How do you welcome a group, and how do men participate in the conversation without damaging the league and what we're trying to do here?
I feel like...
So let me get this right.
Go ahead. You got it.
Because I got my pencil.
Oh, she got her pencil.
Let me make sure I get this right, Jaz. You telling me we need the men in the space. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I want to make sure I write this down right.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let's get clear on the facts. So we do need men.
We do need men in the space.
Oof, no. Yeah. It's
20% more.
Yeah.
20% more. Here's another fun stat. Fantasy leagues, 72% male. Yeah. And as sports gambling continues to increase significantly, it's a big revenue stream for the sports, right?
Yeah.
72%.
Oof.
Yeah. I used to work on a fantasy radio channel, fantasy sports radio, Sirius XM. Shout out my people. No. Yeah, very, very, very male dominated space. Extremely male dominated space. But I feel like the answer to your core question starts with, for me, I think about my dad, and I think about him literally being the reason why I picked up a basketball in the first place. And as I grew older and the WNBA grew and women's college basketball, I think he was always a women's basketball fan, but like he wasn't, for lack of a better explanation for it, he wasn't super PC about it because he just didn't know. You know what I mean? Until he had a little girl, and then I was growing up and I would check him on stuff. I still to this day check him on stuff like, come on, my guy.
Yeah.
But at the heart of it was he was curious and he cared about the league and learning before he, inserted himself outside of our family unit in ways that were disrespectful, harmful to the game, like all that kind of stuff. And two, speaking about the money, I mean, even before that transformation, I got a picture of him with a picture of me at a Houston Comets Mystics game when I was like this big, because he was like, oh, this league right here, oh, I want to support that. And so it's like men just have to learn not to center themselves, and they'll be good. Like, I think it'll be fine. I'm here for,
say it louder for the people in the back.
Say it in the back. Come on, Jaz.
People in the back.
I got a new computer
say
and I
more
still
time.
don't get these. Wow, that's crazy. That's disrespectful. But yeah, it's like there's a way to go about it, and you don't have to be egoless. Like, let's have the tough conversations about, oh, I actually thought so and so played like trash last night. Like, it's cool, we can have those conversations, but be respectful. And then the other thing, I feel like a lot of men aren't taking into account how many different kinds of minority within a minority group there are in this league, and how you can't just come in here being homophobic, transphobic, racist. Like, you just can't do that. It's not going to be, and I don't mean that like people are coming in and being overt about it, even though there are people doing that. There are people who are used to making jokes that fly in NBA spaces that are just not going to fly around these parts.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's my take on it.
Ooh.
No, that's good. I think that's, it's funny. I feel like, sorry, I almost got choked. Oh, Lord, not my emotions. My throat. No, but I think there's something interesting to be said about how a lot of men are getting introduced to the sport, especially like prior, right? I feel like it's a lot of dads. It's my dad,
a lot of dads,
Kobe. Like, it's a lot of men who had a daughter who showed interest. So you had a vested interest now because someone you love deeply now has an interest. Right. So I feel like that approach can be very different. And I also feel like that is why there's a struggle right now, because it's not just those who have a vested interest.
Yeah.
It isn't the one who's like, oh, well, my baby wants to play, so I'm going to learn about this thing. It's all of a sudden, no, I just have an opinion because this is a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing, but I do think there's something about respecting boundaries. I definitely feel like there's something about recognizing power dynamics within this industry, right? And being able to put yourself aside and say, like, hey, I'm not the best one to speak on this. Let me elevate somebody else's voice. But go ahead, Benson. I know you got thoughts.
I don't know. I mean, Misha just...
I covered a little bit of it. To Jaz's point, like, there are a lot of people who don't share that perspective and can't relate to that as a motivational tool at all.
Right.
Like, they're single dudes who are 23 years old and they're like, oh my God, Caitlin Clark, I love her. Like, how are those people supposed to act?
Who? I don't know. I don't know, because I think we're still trying to figure ourselves out. And it's like, we got to make sure that collectively the messaging is right. Like, we just can't just be an open, just this is what it is, and then shocked when they take whatever they want. The NBA is very selective about how they present the NBA and the players. Why everybody's child on the court shooting before the game? Just saying. Half them people ain't for real dads. Now we need to stop. Benson
always don't come with the heat, though. Benson always coming.
When Allen Iverson got up there and was wearing all those type of, black hood clothes, they changed that really quickly. They have always taken more time to present the NBA to the world so that there's no uncontrolled narratives. We have to figure out what controlled narratives we want to present. I don't think we've done that. Who is the WNBA? Are we mothers? I want to see somebody child warming up too. Why they ain't on the floor?
Yeah. That's a really interesting critique. Why because the WNBA as a league with their different, platforms and stuff, they've received a lot of criticism about, who they choose to and how they choose to display people.
Elevate
yeah, so it's like, how can we tell somebody else about their house when our house ain't in order? I hear that.
It ain't. We right now, we have no idea what. I don't even feel comfortable speaking on behalf of the WNBA because I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Am I supposed to say that we are moving in the right direction? We moving at all? Are we what am I supposed to say? Are we a mother league? Are we a civil rights league? Are we a social justice league? I mean, we had people leaving the WNBA, ain't told us because of justice. Just saying, what type of league are we going to do? I'm just saying.
Always coming back. How did we get here? She always coming back because she is real bitter. She real bitter.
I'm just saying. And that's it. I ain't got nothing else to say, but I don't even feel comfortable talking for the league because I don't know. They haven't put out enough messaging. There's always commercials with these men representing the league. There's always interviews. There's always some, I don't know who Diana Taurasi is. I can't tell you what she does. I don't know her. You telling me one of the most longest lasting player, will forever go down a legend in our game. We can't tell you two things about her. But we supposed to talk about what this league is about and who we are. Nah, not gonna happen. So we need to figure out how to have a press conference with the WNBA and tell them, give us the 5 points of what y'all want us to say.
Give us the elevator pitch.
Give us the elevator pitch.
How about we just start at a decent table? Can we start at a decent table for the press conferences?
We didn't even have a name for the WNBA standard. Right.
Can we get a standard?
Can we at least drape the picnic table with something?
Just saying. I mean, if we do that, I think we'll be in a better situation, and then we don't have to have uncontrolled narratives. That's the part that's dangerous. They're not controlled.
And it's not prominent enough a voice to drown out all the other nonsense.
Right.
I think that's at the core of your point too, is like the identity of the league being stronger does allow for that to happen. Like, oh, who am I going to for the WNBA news? The WNBA. Like, not all these folks like ourselves who do unpaid work because we care about the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's infrastructure in the NBA for this kind of stuff. There's just not over here.
And I would say, I think it's interesting. I think this is a great point and a great, I don't want to say pivot in the conversation, but I do think that they're also up against a very unique challenge, right? Because NBA was founded in a time when people didn't elevate players above everything else. It took years of that, layers of that. Like when the NBA was at its first getting popular, right? Like, yeah, teams everywhere. The dynamics of social was just different. Social, like, life was just different, right? But I'm saying there was always a fandom around the teams. There was a fandom around that because we weren't even able to get that kind of access to players. There was a few, right? Like, but then it was like, okay, you had time to establish that.
Yeah.
WNBA is getting popular in a time, like, first of all, you launched into the 90s, first of all. So you already had the Jordan era, which changed the way that people were fans, from a team fan to now I'm a fan of this individual. Wherever he goes, I'm going to go. Right? Period. Right. Now you're really blowing up in a time where, honestly, the players are driving the very fact that you have fandom in the first place. The league isn't driving that. And it's clear and obvious, right? It ain't because you in my hometown. It's because you got Caitlin Clark. It's because you got Angel Reese. It's because you got Cameron Brink. Like, that's right. You know what I'm saying? So that's an interesting challenge too. And it's an interesting case study for somebody to suggest. I ain't that deep. I'll be real with you. Suggest some tactics and strategies though, because I do think it's a unique challenge. They can't just follow an established route to get there either.
Right. That's a good point.
Mel, did you have thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts, and I'm happy to hear your thoughts before I convey my thoughts. So let me begin with my thoughts.
Hello, this is Melanie.
Hello, this is Melanie speaking. So let me just piggyback off of everybody. Misha, starting with your point, I think that we have a very unique perspective, knowing that you also are from the DMV area and how women's basketball, boys basketball, and girls basketball were very popular amongst all sides, I think, that entire area. Right. For me, growing up, and my mom being my basketball coach, but me having two older brothers and all of us looking up to my mom, women's basketball was a central aspect more so than the NBA. We had season tickets to the Washington Mystics. We never went to a Washington Wizards game. Like, that's unheard of.
Washington Wizards.
Shout out to moms. Shout out to moms.
Are the Wizards?
I don't know. Right? I can't tell you a single thing about the Wizards, but I can tell you everything in history about the Mystics. So, and even having like my brothers to look up to in that space, and like they know all the players from the WNBA, and like those were central to the conversation that I was brought up into. And even going into high school and like playing in the best conference in the nation, the WCAC, and how girls basketball and boys basketball, all games across the board were packed out. Like there was no difference. So I think I'm coming from a vantage point of the conversations within our community uplifted women's basketball as much as they uplifted boys basketball. And so it's only me stepping out of that space that I'm aware of these alternate opinions and narratives and perspectives on how women and Black women and everything were looked down upon. But yet we're coming from Prince George's County, Maryland. That is the most affluent county in the country growing up. So it's always new for me to hear these, alternative upbringings and perspectives, because that was not my experience at all. And even today, now we're in this resurgence of women's basketball. And I'm like, my whole upbringing was, it's shocking to me because that was not my experience at all growing up. So now I have to defend my childhood.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a really good point, because same, like I had idols in my like vicinity. I was going to games to watch people, like, you know what I mean? Like
we had access to them.
We had access. We had access. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point.
We've talked about the access issue in the past.
Yeah. We showed
also shout out to representation mattering in the household there. You better go ahead.
Hey, moms.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah, like
and DMV, y'all can all have a little problem.
I wanna go back to just the core question of how do we integrate men into this space. And when I'm on Twitter and the socials, and I'm a shout out to one of my homeboys. His name's Chris Williamson. I don't know if any of y'all know him, but Chris grew up in the DMV. Like Chris was one of my friends and grew up with. Like all our families are very integrated. So seeing how Chris is able to promote and like push the narrative and, always praising and bringing the conversation back to what the actual conversation is, and able to talk to his fellow male counterparts on what is at bay here, like what everybody's up against, what the actual core foundation of the love for the game is. Chris is really good about bringing that back. And I know he gets a lot of like backlash from people also in the same realm because of his actual love for basketball. And I think a lot of people that are coming into the space don't actually have a love for basketball.
Facts. Speak on it. Speak on it. They like basketball.
That part.
They like basketball the way I like tennis.
Lord. Okay.
Oh, God.
I didn't know.
We all held our breath.
You know what you thought I was gonna say?
We don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Not a clue.
Okay, y'all.
We just didn't know where the snow was going.
Okay.
We didn't know where the snow was going.
It was just like,
yeah. I just, to your point, people don't love the game, and when they speak about it, it's clear that they have no care for it. They don't treat it with any care, and with a lot of the conversations we've heard recently from the men who've just infiltrated the space without the knowledge, they also don't see the legitimacy in our game the way that they see it in the men's game because it's men. And so, yeah, I just think that's also a really great point, Mel. Really great point.
Yeah. And I think it does circle back to what Benson said, right? Because you don't love the game, you need to be told what the narrative is. And if we don't know what the narrative is, we can't just be up here like, no, well, that ain't it. Don't say that.
I don't know what it is, but I know it ain't that.
But it ain't that one. That you stop. Like, no. How to get the finger out, because that's how you know it's serious.
Yes.
Mel, do you have anything else though? Because you was dropping some knowledge.
I mean, no, I think that's the full circle here. I think those are the aspects that I think really stand out to me in this conversation. Is like it's really just going back to, do you love basketball or are you here for entertainment?
Well,
and it's okay to be here for entertainment, but just know that that's where
It's
you
gonna look
are,
different.
and there are people who actually, live, eat, sleep, breathe this thing, and let them lead you. Let them.
And if you're here for entertainment,
pass the mic.
You will also
Pass
be the
mic.
center of the entertainment as well, and everybody will also be entertained by your infiltrating thoughts.
Cool. Wow. How about that? Healthy, robust discussion. This meeting will end in 10 minutes. So because I just got that notification, we will move to Mel's
please, rapidly.
Mel's got some more info for us that I'm sure I've never heard before. So Mel, please.
Okay, so hello everybody. Melanie here. We are embarking upon the WNBA All-Star game. And guess who is also gonna be there?
Who, Mel? Tell the people.
We, as Can't Retire From This podcast folks, will be there talking to the people. The WNBA All-Star game started in 1999 and held at Madison Square Garden, attracted a sellout crowd of 18,649.
Okay.
Shout out to selling out the Garden.
Okay. And the second WNBA All-Star, which was year 2000 in Phoenix, had 17,717. So I wanted to just explore the rosters a little bit on who was there. And, if we happen to invite some of these folks through to our All-Star activation with round 21, that'd be kind of cool to just give these people their flowers. Eastern Conference All-Stars, Teresa Weatherspoon, my beloved Nikki McCray, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Shamika Holdsclaw.
Okay.
Sue Wicks. And Taj McWilliams,
Taj, Hall of Famer. Woo, woo.
Right? Western Conference All-Stars, Tisha Penicheiro, Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
And Lisa Leslie.
All the doubles. You see that? I just want to call that out real quick. Why y'all all gotta have the first name and the last name gotta start with the same?
Because they were born to be iconic.
Right. Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie. Come with it.
So out of that group, can anybody guess who was the MVP of that year's WNBA All-Star?
Swoop. Swoop? That's what I was going to guess.
Who?
Swoop or Coop?
Swoop or Coop? Yes.
Coop or Coop. Swoop or Coop.
Swoop or Coop.
Coop or Swoop.
The answer is, drum roll please. The answer is Tina Thompson.
Oh, it was a TT. He's for the win.
Tina.
Okay, Tina.
Sorry, Miss Tina.
That's right, Jazz. We apologize, Miss Tina.
We shouldn't have never said that.
No, we sure shouldn't have.
Our bad.
You was a double T too, so you wasn't gonna be missed in the whole doubles, Miss Tina.
Yes,
that's what's up.
I'm excited for this year's All-Star. If we can have everybody come through, come talk to us, we're going to be out there representing. I just want a good conversation and bridge the past to the present in Phoenix.
And let's be real, if you in Phoenix in mid-July, it's too hot to be outside anyway, so you might as well come through. I'm just saying. Have y'all been in Phoenix in mid-July?
That's a good pitch.
You're going to suffocate outside.
That's a good pitch. That's a very good pitch.
I'm just saying.
That's what basketball.
Good job.